Joe Biden hates black people. Real Nico House, who is like a Jimmy Dore supporter crank who claims to be a leftist, but not really, isn't really an anti-capitalist at all or a leftist at all, said to AOC, but you vote to send money to Nazis and fund the Israeli apartheid. But hey, at least you stood up to a TikTok star, which, by the way, weird because like there is truth to what he's saying here. He said, yo, AOC has burned accounts. I responded to one of her posts reminding her that she sends money to Nazis, and some random account responded to me speaking in first person as if I attacked them. Then that same person deleted the tweets. You bet I did. New York City doesn't play with bigots and transphobes, and neither do I. Have a great day. He said, but you vote to send money to Nazis and fund the Israeli apartheid. But hey, at least you stood up to a TikTok star. And then Zaza Demon said, lol, and what makes you think that I did anything to support Nazis? You're delusional. Seek help. And then they deleted it, and he went, oh, I found AOC's burner account. I responded to one of her posts reminding her that she sends money to Nazis, and some random account responded to me speaking in the first person. Now, in the tweet that he's responding to, Zaza Demon is quoted in the fucking tweet. Zaza Demon is also a HasanAbi head because I immediately looked up who this person was when I saw it popping off. Oh, sorry. This person replied to Zaza Demon because I think what happened is like he retweeted it or something. And sometimes when someone retweets something and you respond to it, it comes up as though you are adding them without realizing you're adding them. They reply to a retweet by Zaza, which adds the retweeter as well in the reply. Exactly. For those of you who don't know, Zaza is not a cute way to say Alexandria. Zaza is weed. I don't know if you knew that or not. It's gas. So because he was added in here due to his retweet being something that this idiot responded to, he thought that he was being called in the question for no reason. And he jumped up and said, oh, I found AOC's burner. But this motherfucker's going to be acting like he cracked the Da Vinci Code for the next 6 months. Also, his logic doesn't even make sense. Lamau, if she was using a burner account, she wouldn't get a notification that you replied to her main unless she switched back to her profile. Oh, yeah? Then why is the account deleted? Man, if I had 1,000 people harassing my no-followers account, I would fucking delete it too. Use what little brains you have, please. I thought if I clearly explained why it makes sense that that account replied in that way, that people would realize how silly they're being. But then I remember this group of people watch Jimmy Dore and drink himself to death and worship him like an infallible god. Now, the hilarious part about this is I looked through Zaza Demon's tweets as soon as I saw the original call out post. And I hope that that's AOC's fucking burner account because Zaza Demon seemingly is a HasanAbi head and says a bunch of awesome and maybe even a little unhinged shit on Twitter all the time. It would be incredibly cool. It would literally make AOC look better in the eyes of most people that are extremely online. Let's talk about white solidarity and let's talk about black people. Black people are not allowed to showboat. Black people are not allowed to be in any way, shape, or form petty winners. Sorry, you're not allowed. If you do that, then everyone will fucking lose their minds at you.
Reese knows a ring is coming.
Angel Reese goes up to Caitlin Clark and does Caitlin Clark's celebration. Caitlin Clark is basically popping off in the NCAA. She's like breaking records, right? She plays for Iowa. She's white. Caitlin Clark's celebration is the John Cena can't see me celebration. The game is massive, as Will correctly pointed out on the latest episode of Fear and. LSU and Iowa averaged 9.9 million viewers. It's the most watched women's college basketball game ever. She's unironically the Great White Hope. Exactly. This has nothing to do with race. This is America. A lot has to do with race. Don't be silly now. People are arguing Caitlyn did it in general to no one, but Angel did it directly to Caitlyn. Yeah, there's no argument here. It is so fucking stupid. She was being a petty winner. The people that are like, this is unsportsmanlike, are fucking stupid. I'm sorry. It's what makes sports fun. Before you dive in, Portnoy's trolling. He doesn't care. He just had $250K on LSU. Yeah, I don't think most of these people care. I think most of these people are just like using this as an opportunity to fucking push for whatever political agenda that they have. Oftentimes, like women's sports ends up getting utilized in this regard all the fucking time. One of the greatest examples of this is like trans women in fucking sports. Most people who don't give a shit, a single absolute fucking shit about women's sports, turn around and literally just like, you know, have to add a little bit of seasoning on top of it to make women's sports and the experience more palatable for themselves. It's like a guy who goes to watch baseball, but he can't fucking sit through 4 hours hours, so he has to get shit-faced drunk or gamble. They're both petty. You only call Angel petty, but not Caitlyn. That's bullshit. No, I think that having like a taunting thing, like taunting people is fine. If Angel Reese only did this one time to her and walked away, I wouldn't even consider that to be petty. The only reason why I say it's petty is because she like chased her around. That's the only reason that I think it's petty. So make no mistake. I love taunting. I love touchdown celebrations. I love that shit. I think it makes sports more entertaining. I think it makes sports more watchable. There's like an additional character to it. There's additional story to it. The only reason why I'm saying that it's considered petty, at least, which even though I don't give a fuck, like, yeah, who cares? Yeah, she was talking shit. She has every right to do so.
Knows a ring is coming.
Yeah. Kobe, Michael Jordan, they all taunted their opponents. Michael Jordan especially is such a piece of shit. Like, he would do so much fucked up shit. It was psychological warfare, and everybody fucking loves him for it. It's sports, man. Good athletes are very competitive, and they get in your fucking head. It's a psychological game as much as it's a physical one. And the idea that people are making this like a bigger deal than it actually is so fucking silly. Trash talking is part of basketball. Caitlyn said so. Caitlyn said so herself prior to the game. She was good and didn't need the saltine male protection.
To play with that fire, I play with that fire, and now here we are at the national championship game. Social media is buzzing over the quote-unquote two best trash talkers in the country, you and Angel Reese. I presume you view that actually as a positive thing, not a negative thing, playing with passion. Do you view it as a good thing for this game?
Absolutely. I think...
Yeah, there you go. Gender plays a role in this because these are women, and race plays a role in it too. These are things that are impossible to fucking avoid. It's just how it is. It's a good thing to fucking taunt your opponent and create more drama.
I view, matchups...
It's a good thing, but you still won't watch? Yeah, exactly.
People get really excited about as a really good thing for this game. I think that's what excites people and gets them to the TV, but when they turn the TV on, they understand it's not an individual game. It wasn't Caitlyn versus Leah. We weren't even matched up against each other at all. It's not going to be Caitlyn versus Angel. That's not what's going to win a national championship, but that's what gets them excited about watching the game. So I think more than anything, people are starting to understand women can play with, excitement and a passion and a fire about themselves, and, that's what's fun. That's what people want to see. But you leave it on the court. When you step off the court, you're friends, you support one another, you love the game, you love getting to watch them. I've loved watching LSU this year. They've been tremendous, and what Kim Mulkey's been able to build there in her short time is, nothing short of remarkable. So I have all the respect in the world for them, and I think it's going to be a tremendous game.
There you go. I think that's great. It's great that they're like fucking taunting each other and talking smack and... Shaq, so is your mother. Oh my God. I love David Portnoy calling someone classless. I can't get over that. Like, Dave Portnoy is the most classless motherfucker on the planet. Like, who? You think he knows anything about class, dude? He's so nasty. Like, he's such a nasty human.
The following on your site. I never condone rape, but if you're a size 6 and you're wearing skinny jeans, you kind of deserve to be raped.
Correct.
Here's someone who hasn't changed and will never change and has been rewarded for it. Bestiality porn enthusiast, prolific abuser, sexual abuser, all-around awful guy, one of the worst Supreme Court justices in contemporary American history, Clarence Thomas. Turns out, according to a ProPublica report, Justice Clarence Thomas, who has lied time and time again about how he has regular working class taste, has been getting paid, bribed, or at least accepting several luxury trips paid for by a GOP mega donor.
A brand new report is raising some serious questions about Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas and the lavish gifts that he reportedly accepted from a GOP mega donor. ProPublica says that the luxury vacations from billionaire Harlan Crow...
Just dunking on black people today? Yeah, I know. Don't worry, I'm gonna salvage it in a little bit when I watch the Gideon video, White is Right. Well, actually, technically, we started off with Tennessee being racist, so at least there was that.
And according to these ProPublica, these are photos of Clarence Thomas and his wife, Ginny Thomas, with Crow and others during a trip to Indonesia back in 2019. The report says that the Thomas...
I'm going to say, maybe Dr. Umar is not all that wrong. That's not always, but this time, You got to hand it to him.
Thomas flew on Crow's private jet to Indonesia for the 9-day luxury vacation, one that they say is valued at more than $500,000. Now, ProPublica goes on to say that the extent and frequency of Crow's apparent gifts to Thomas have no known precedent in the modern history of the United States Supreme Court. And just
dude, it's the lamest way to radicalize. You read a Thomas Sowell book and fucking Fountainhead, and then you become like this disgusting anti-black fucking weirdo. So whack. Dr. Umar is hikey racist. Okay, first of all, we're making jokes. That's number one. And number two, so is Clarence Thomas, okay? But in the other direction. Again, Dr. Umar, very memeable. Clarence Thomas, no memes. Can't make a meme. Motherfucker likes bestiality. And again, still not memeable. Ridiculous.
CNN Supreme Court reporter Ariane DeVogue is joining us now with more on this very eyebrow-raising story. So Ariane, how unprecedented is this really?
It's unheard of at the Supreme Court. This ProPublica report really detailing these lavish trips that Justice Clarence Thomas took and that were paid for by this mega donor. And trips, like you said, New Zealand, Indonesia, on private jets, private yachts, at private resorts. But what's really important here is to put
He was fucking balling. He was balling. He's balling.
To context, because it comes as the Supreme Court right now is under this white-hot spotlight where more and more people are thinking that the court is becoming more political, less a judicial branch, more like just another political branch.
Listen, I love when people go, I mean, I know why she's doing it, because like her job is to remain impartial. In order to like beef up her argument, she has to say that like the Supreme Court is not supposed to be political. Here, I don't want to give her a rough pause here.
What there's
part of that is supposed to, you know, I guess reinforce the lie that you don't know that the Supreme Court is political. You know what I mean? But it's always funny when other people who are just like regular commentators say it, and it's like, when wasn't it political? Like, there's never been a moment where the Supreme Court wasn't political. That's not a thing.
So, Ariane, what has Harlan Crow said about all of this?
Well, he did release a statement that we got a copy of. He said, we have never asked about a pending or lower court case, and Justice Thomas has never discussed one, and we have never...
Yeah, we just love hanging out with him, dude. 8 out of 8 cases this guy's been connected to, Thomas has ruled in favor of. I'll be honest with you. Even if that guy hadn't greased Clarence Thomas's wheels, he'd still be in favor of it. That's why he's in the position that he's in. Like, he was going to rule that way anyway. In a lot of instances, the same principle stands for NRA lobbying money, right? American Republican politicians get lobbying money from the NRA, but that's not the reason why they defend the NRA tooth and nail. That's just, you know, a little bit of icing on the top. They're going to defend the NRA regardless because it's a wedge issue that benefits them because their constituents want that. Yeah, for chat, remember Clarence Thomas is an originalist, meaning he tries to judge based on how the fucking founding fathers would have, meaning slave-owning white man who saw black people's property. Clarence Thomas is a fucking terrible human. He is. He's a bad person. He's a bad person both in his private life and his private affairs, and he's a bad person in the way that he has decided on Supreme Court cases. He's just a bad person in general. This really looks like he was brought along on their family vacations, Lamau. Yeah, it is kind of wild. Maybe he does just like him, dude. It's kind of weird. Like, this doesn't seem like some highfalutin sex tourist ass shit. This just seems like a family vacay that him and his wife were allowed to join in on. All right, let's get to Brandon Johnson, who is a union organizer, a teacher, and now the next mayor of Chicago. Here is Amy Goodman of Democracy Now! Talking about Brandon Johnson's
Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. As we go from Wisconsin to Chicago, another closely watched race. Brandon Johnson was elected mayor of Chicago in a major victory for progressives. Johnson, a black teachers union organizer, defeated conservative Democrat Paul Vallas, a champion of charter schools who ran on a law and order platform. Johnson won even though Vallas had outspent him 2-1. Brandon Johnson spoke last night to supporters.
So Chicago, I'll say it this day. Today, we take big steps towards figuring it out here. So I believe since we are taking steps to figure it out here, let's take this bold progressive movement around these United States of America.
So, Juan, that's Brandon Johnson. You're in Chicago. Talk about the significance of this victory.
Yes, Amy. All the polls have been predicting a dead heat. It was a close race, the narrowest margin since Harold Washington won election as Chicago mayor back in 1983. But Brandon Johnson did succeed in rebuilding a progressive coalition to be able to capture the mayoralty. Now comes the difficult part of governance, because Brandon Johnson is going to be facing a police department, police office.
Didn't the fucking police union say that if Brandon Johnson is elected, that they'll quit? Which is pretty funny because they are the biggest crybabies on the fucking entire planet. But they, of course, probably personally thought it would never happen, much like many people in Chicago with proximity to power thought that a person who is fond of socialism, a person who has been very critical and spoken out on behalf of unions and striking. What's up with that? Are we waiting on the resignations? I would like to know when those resignations are going to come. Oh, here is the new mayor of Chicago.
Convincing our members to wear a red T-shirt on Friday was a task. It took us a year to convince CTU members that it's okay to associate yourself with labor. The baby socialists would just wear the buttons, right? We got to, start them off, gently. And so eventually they started putting on red T-shirts. And so building that sense of consciousness.
That's the guy. Chicago Tribune. Mayor-elect Johnson found a place in his acceptance speech for God, but not Barack Obama. Which, by the way, is God. How dare he not have a place for Barack Obama? He's a black man, just like Barack Obama is, and also from Chicago. Wow, this is really fucked up. This headline's giving Bernie 2020 vibes. Yeah, except a lot of the stuff. Yeah, first of all, fuck Barack Obama. He can suck my dick. Barack Obama famously did not endorse him, so he can double suck me. That's number two. Yeah, he must be an anti-black racist, I think. Adam Johnson has a great take on this. The ideological work here is worth pointing out. It's so casual and banal, but it's impressive how the deck gets stacked. Chicago doesn't grapple with underinvestment, poverty, inequality, dispossession, or systemic racism. It always grapples with crime and insufficient austerity. That is how the neoliberal media cuts its propaganda. This is the Associated Press. This is supposed to be objective. But in that objectivity, you see the advocacy for neoliberal austerity measures and the only solution to crime coming from aggressive enforcement and police operating like an occupying force, and never about spending money in underfunded, underserved, underprivileged communities. Look at that. Brandon Johnson, a union organizer and former teacher, was elected to Chicago's next mayor on Tuesday in a major victory for the Democratic Party's progressive wing as the heavily blue city grapples with high crime and financial challenges. Is that on purpose, though? Of course it's on purpose. The way that you could objectively frame this, if you had a legitimate interest in emancipation, a legitimate interest in advocating for the material equality of people, you could cut this article with the same exact title, the title that Adam Johnson wrote. I don't think it's on purpose. I legitimately don't think they realize it. It's like the Chomsky line. Yeah, I know. When I talk about the media, I'm talking about this organism. I'm not talking about the individuals that are thinking this through or not. The media as a unit is pumping this commentary out under the auspices of neutrality, objectivity, when there's two ways to cover this issue, and they rarely ever talk about the issue from the perspective of systemic solutions. What they're writing here is an inherently right-wing attitude to crime. There's two solutions to crime. One is one that hasn't worked so far, which is hyper-enforcement, police spending more money on the police, and not trying to tackle the actual reasons as to why crime manifests, violent crime and the like. The AP article is not neutral. No media is neutral. There's no such thing as, objective, unbiased media coverage for the most part, because neutrality simply implies in a neoliberal system that you are abiding by the system and making it seem like that is the default. Here, I'll give you an example. Gaming is a new sector, but for the longest time, video games usually featured a white male as the primary character. That was seen as the default. So anything that strayed away from that was considered political. The Associated Press, if they wrote an article talking about the actual systemic reasons as to why crime works or crime manifests, systemic inequality, that would be considered editorializing and not neutral. Because neutral in this regard would be advocating for austerity measures and more police brutality or more funding for the police. But the default being a white male character is inherently a political concept. There's two factors here. Even if crime was like grappling with high crime, this would still be an unfair assessment. But also, it's not true. Crime is down everywhere on year-over-year trends. Homicide is down from 2021. Shootings are down from 2021. Crime is not higher. It's actually lower. Doesn't this show that the current way of treating crime is working? In my opinion, no. If you ask Uncle Sam Cedar, my real uncle, my true uncle, he will tell you that it's lead poisoning that caused this level of crime because there's no other way to factor into consideration a global decline in crime without any serious decline in poverty. Not exactly thrilled with JB sitting this race out, but he gets it. Governor Pritzker was asked today about his react to yesterday's mayoral race. Brandon Johnson, the reporter said, barely won the race, which is an odd thing to say because Johnson's currently ahead by 3 percentage points. But here's his response. Well, let's start by saying congratulations to Brandon Johnson on his big win. They deserve enormous kudos. I look forward to working with mayor like Johnson. I spoke with him last night. He was still celebrating and had a very long day, but we'll be meeting, no doubt, over the next couple of weeks as he moves in his transition to make sure that the state of Illinois is doing whatever we can to be supportive of him as mayor, as we are all mayors across the state. If America balkanizes, the Midwest is looking strong, by the way. I'm not even kidding. I think Gretchen Whitmer even has like some solid fundamentals there. It's very odd, but I see the Midwest rising up. That's all I'm going to say. Its bona fides are looking really good. Ohio, on the other hand, more dog shit than ever. Oh my fucking Lord. Ohio, shame on you. Poo-poo caca. That's all I'm going to say about Ohio. Ohio's trying to be fucking Florida so bad. It's weird. Good news coming out of Chicago, though. People are pointing out how embarrassing this is, but to make a more pedestrian observation, Obama didn't endorse or campaign for Johnson, and some key figures from Obama would endorse his opponent. Obama world endorse his opponent. Why the hell would Johnson mention Obama? Exactly. If Obama voted in Chicago, he would 100%, without even a shadow of doubt, have voted for Paul Vallas. He's a conservatively minded actor whose main concern since leaving office has been getting obscenely rich, not the Pope of progressive politics. The only thing linking Mayor-elect Let's Go Brandon Johnson to Barack Obama is the color of their skin. And of course, that is going to be enough for places like the Chicago Tribune. Every fucking neoliberal mainstream media outlet loves running the same fucking lines. In many respects, there's no difference between this and some fucking Fox News watcher looking at a black guy, pointing to him and going, that's a Democrat. That's woke. It's just like two sides of the same fucking coin.
Officers who see him as their worst nightmare. He's going to be facing a business community that is definitely worried about some of his pronounced policy positions. And of course, the billionaires who continue to fund the charter school movement are going to be also going to find a difficult situation with the new mayor. So we're going to be a key aspect of this, of course, was the power and the mobilization and the money of major labor unions like the service.
They're going to try to do a business plot on Brandon Johnson. The Illinois Chamber of Commerce has decided that there's a new mayor in Chicago. America is doing a paramilitary coup in Chicago by way of the police department and taking out Brandon Johnson and then putting in the Illinois Chamber of Commerce leader as the new mayor of Chicago, we've decided. Stop giving them ideas. I mean, it's just like they won't do that, but they'll fucking undermine him at every step of the way unless he gets like actual support from JB Pritzker. Yes, the business leaders in Chicago will unironically do everything in their fucking power to fuck this entire process up, as they have done time and time again to any fucking DA that's like, hey, maybe the police shouldn't murder 14-year-olds. Like, if you're a DA anywhere in America and you have said things like, perhaps we should have a little bit more police accountability, it's over for you. The police unions will unironically do everything in their fucking power to destroy you. On top of that, business leaders will like collaborate with the police unions to say, oh God, these cops are not doing their jobs because of the fucking woke DA. Same shit goes for mayors as well. Same shit goes for anyone in proximity to power that has an opinion that is a little bit outside, maybe a little bit to the left of like the regular neoliberal norms. Think about the prior two mayors of Chicago and you will understand what I'm talking about. You got Lori Lightfoot, and before that you had absolute demon Rahm Emanuel. So we'll see.